LoreWarrior Online SHG-2H Shogun. Overview. The history of the Shogun was shrouded in myth and legend, or at least it was until both clan and Innisphere records could be compared. The original requirements for the Shogun were first published by the SLDF in the late 26th century, but the mech itself didn't see production for some 2 centuries more. The success and wide proliferation of the Stalker, which filled the role that the Shogun was meant for, if imperfectly, as well as the outbreak of the Reunification War and then the peace of the Star League's Golden Age, saw the original design requirements shelved. It took General Kerensky's war to liberate Terra before the SLDF needed a replacement assault battle mech to refill its ranks. Capabilities. The mech's initial requirements called for a highly survivable, multi-role assault battle mech. By the time the Shogun project had entered the design phase in 2771, those requirements changed little, only to make up for critical weaknesses within the Stalker's design. Though the Shogun is no faster than its predecessor, the addition of jump jets gives it significantly more maneuverability. Case and ferrofibrous armor also makes the Shogun far more survivable than the Stalker. Like the Stalker, the Shogun mounts a variety of weapons capable of striking at all range brackets, though it also balances its firepower and heat management curve far better than the predecessor. The Shogun's single ERPPC gives it significant punch at all ranges, while paired with LRM racks and quad Streak SRM2 racks, it lets the mech pilot stand off at range or wade into the thick of it, with a little more hitting power provided by lasers. Perhaps just as importantly, the Shogun shares a number of common major systems with the Stalker, including the 2 largest components, the engine and gyroscope. With so many Stalkers already in service, the logistics trains that supported Kerensky's task forces could continue to easily support the Shogun as well. Deployment. The Shogun could well have supplanted the Stalker, but then Kerensky's exodus and the First Succession War intervened. Mitchell Vehicles, which was awarded the design after the SLDF recaptured Graham 4, completed just 8 production runs prior to the Exodus, and only a few additional runs before their factories were destroyed in the First Succession War. That left the Shogun to quickly fade into extinction, at least until Wolf's Dragoons returned a few to the Innisphere. Variants. Considering its relatively recent introduction at the end of the Star League era, no major variants of the Shogun debuted until well into the Golden Century, when the few clans that still had the mech in service gave it a complete overhaul, utilizing newly developed technologies. Increasing the LRM racks to 20 tube launchers, doubling the number of SRM racks and adding 3 heatsinks, though at a loss of the backup lasers. The variants utilized by Wolf's Dragoons, despite long-standing rumour to the contrary, are obvious downgrades rather than simply older or less capable versions. The 2E model replaced the Shogun's original Lost Tech equipment, save the case that protected both side torsos, with lower tech versions, and at a loss of the lasers, though it did gain several single heatsinks. The post-Fourth Succession War 2F model simply adds the ERPPC back in without reinstalling any of the other equipment, or the upgraded armor. Notable mech warriors. Star Captain Kellen MacLeod. Kellen MacLeod was one of the rising stars of the SLDF's Terran campaign. Just a young refugee Aztec at the beginning of the Terran invasion, 10 months later he found himself at the controls of the Shogun he was assigned to when its mech warrior was incapacitated. Days later, his unit opened up the first beachheads on South America, with MacLeod still at the mech's controls. As losses mounted, he received battlefield commissions to lieutenant and captain in short order, with battalion command coming soon thereafter. By the end of the campaign, he was a 22-year-old regimental XO still piloting the same Shogun. He joined the Exodus, made the first cut after the SLDF drawdown, and survived rebel ambushes on Cersei. He was even targeted and nearly killed by malcontents on Strana Meshti, but after all he'd seen and experienced, he was one of the most vocal supporters of the common man and proponent of incorporating the conquered Pentagon citizens into the clans in the days following Operation Klondike. As a post-LoreWarrior note for this particular one, this is actually from Operation Klondike book, whereas usually I try to use Technical Readout 3050 upgrade for a lot of these because sadly a lot of the sort of interim TROs didn't really have this level of detail, but I felt Klondike was a bit better, mainly because, one, it included some of the actual history of the Shogun from the clan perspective where it would still have been built mostly, and also I found it interesting that the notable mech warrior was an SLDF pilot who was one of the early clans, so well, that was a bit different. And I've always liked the Shogun. Love to see it in one of the games in the future. I'm not saying Living Legend should add it, but if they did, be very happy. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you next time. Bye 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 bye.